Wow.
All right, yeah.
We're appearing to live stream this morning.
Hello. It's kind of crazy too, but yeah, it's culture. Right. So. Am I correct? My understanding of one.
That's right.
That's all right. I just.
Not scary.
So we don't go through that here.
Right. So if we want to make sure it's on,
Yeah, should be on.
does anyone want to check the phone and show live?
Looks like.
Looks like it, but you want to make sure.
I don't know how to do this.
I will take it. So where did you get this?
Way back. When we first started getting them forms, they gave us a form.
Well, the army one, not the other.
Oh, yeah.
We're on, thank you.
So, yeah.
State order. Barr, you do roll call, please.
Agnes,
Here,
Darabelle,
here,
Cook.
Here.
Cameron, here. Gomez.
Here. Do pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I want to remind everybody to please silence your cell phones. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Then a motion to approve the agenda has been supported. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed, motion passed. Minutes of the last meeting.
make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting as presented. The floor.
There's been a motion to approve the minutes of the April 21st, 2025 meeting. It's been supported. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed, motion passed. Treasurer's report, paying the bill. Like the motion with the three bills.
support.
There's been a motion to pay the bills and it's been supported. Is there any discussion? Not Laura, need a roll call, please?
Barzell,
Yes,
Cook,
Yes.
Nick,
yes,
Cameron, yes. Gomez.
Yes, motion passed. Public comment. If you're here to disrupt the meeting or personal attack somebody, you might as well leave now. Okay. Come on. I had to mention that.
Paul Martin, 8039 Flooring Drive. I'm talking about the recreational vehicles out at the lake. I've already turned in a complaint. It's been put on hold. This says it's a memorial on all campers on lake property. That will be on all property. That won't be just on lake residential property. And you change that ordinance, that will be in effect all vacant properties if you end up changing that. But I just never, it's in 40 years been out there at the lake. We had one person that put in a trailer right away, and it went down, and as soon as he put it in down in front, he had 2 days, it was taken right back off. He was told to get it right back off. One person is asked now, why can't she store it there? Well, there's a reason she can't store it there. It's against the ordinance. Ordinance states 90 days she can leave it there. That's the way it was when she bought her case out there. It hasn't changed unless she builds a home out there. But all she did was ask a question, and now we're sitting there going through a bunch of rigmarole and stirring up everybody and getting everything all flustered over one person asking a question over an ordinance out there. It's pretty much black and white. All we had to do is answer a question. No, you can't store it out there more than 90 days. So why are we going through all of this for one person answering the question about recreational vehicles? You're not supposed to have more than 2 recreational vehicles or boats parked on any lot. Right? You know, next to me, there's 3. He's got a trailer, he's got a boat, and he's got his camper that's set up permanent, sewage, water, internet, and he lives in it as much as they want all summer long, and it still stays there and it's never moved. It will never be put in storage because there's no place else to park anything else. You have to have a home to be able to keep them out there longer. It can't just be a garage, and that's what he's got out there right now, is just a garage. So I'm totally against changing the ordinance that's been in effect for over 50 years. Other townships have these same ordinances that look almost exactly the same. They do not allow trailers to be parked in Vassar or any other township. So why are we changing the ordinance that's been in effect for over 50 years? Let's just leave it the way it is and have no more problems with it. If you're going to change the ordinance and put trailer houses in my front yard, which I will have, the boat launch is a vacant piece of property. There'll be a trailer there. There's already a trailer next to me with 3. That's been there for 4 years. Nobody's done anything about it. Then I want my property value and my taxes lowered. I'm not going to be in a trailer park out there that I pay high taxes on my property for, and then have trailers all around me. But this isn't just for Murphy Lake. This is for all vacant lots. And I have 5 of them out there. So if you're going to allow them, you can have 10 trailers out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Anybody else? Go ahead, Steve.
I just, before I get started, I want to say I have a copy of what I'm going to say for everybody, and I'll be right to the wire. I kind of echo but I'm just going to have to get a more. Here we go. P-Blade, $7,600 for me. The residents of this township deserve an explanation as to why this township is not functioning as a responsible body for the taxpayers of this community. Currently, this township has 3 lawsuits against them, and it's financed by nearly 80 of your own taxpayers, and another 2 or 3 lawsuits are pending, contingent upon the future actions of the Planning Commission. Mr. Loomis, this Planning Commission was appointed by you and supported by this board. Prior to the newly elected board members, you appointed a Planning Commission member knowing full well that they had a clear conflict of interest in serving on this commission, as you were provided the evidence of such well in advance twice. Now this township is tied up in litigation with more pending over several different issues, which could all be resolved if the Planning Commission would just simply follow the ordinances and serve the will of the people, the law, instead of their own special interest. What they have been allowed to do is evil. It's even worse than insider trading. The same member just physically called me out in this very room a week ago tonight. After the Planning Commission meeting last Monday night, I approached the head table to retrieve my copy of the March minutes that I gave Doyle Pletcher during the meeting as proof that their own minutes showed that they had voted special land use permit document, a permit that had not been approved. Doyle Pletcher and Ed Maskey both provided false information.
Steve, I ask you not to attack people. And that's what
I'm telling you what happened. All right,
If you go on and do that, then I'm gonna ask you to leave.
I have a complaint here, Robert, and the only way.
I realize that, but you don't need to attack people, just like I said.
I'm telling you what happened.
I'm
Okay,
just
I
asking-
am appalled by what happened. You may have another lawsuit if you don't let me air this, and that's where I'm at, Bob. Can I get back to my point?
I'm asking you if you attack
I
people,
will.
I want you to leave.
I will rephrase my words as best I can. Just think you want to hear the truth. I would think as supervisor, you'd want to hear the truth. I just can't believe you don't. But at any rate, I provided evidence from their own minutes during the meeting that they were approving something that had not been approved yet. They were told, oh no, we went through each one, yada, yada. Even gave the date, 6 of 25. And it was false information. So further evidence of incompetence. During our conversation on the issue, I walked up to around the head table in the office area in search of a wastebasket. What I stated to both of them was you just provided false information to the public, is all I said. And then someone standing right there, Mr. O, if you will, was standing nearby me, and he stated, does that make you feel like a tough guy? Standing right there, Bob, where your seat is. I was caught off guard. I looked him at him, and I'm not sure where he was coming from or what he truly meant. I offered my hand as clarification, meaning beyond the comment, which time he squeezed my hand and said, you know where I live. I replied, I don't know where you live. At which point I realized he was calling me out. At this point, I took a step. My heel must have hit his water bottle that was sitting on the floor. And at which time I realized,
Time's up, Steve.
you interrupted my time.
Yes,
I have one more paragraph, okay?
Yes, 30
I wanted to tell you what happened. At this point, I took a step, my heel hit his water bottle, and the thermos kicked over. I didn't even realize it was there. He said, you knocked over my water. I looked down, I seen the water. He said, pick it up. I bent over and I picked it up. And I was shocked and appalled, Bob. As Mrs. Jarzel was still sitting at the end of the table, I tapped her on the shoulder and I said, did you hear that? Mr. Opperman just called me out. At which point I questioned Mr. Opperman about his ethics and his professionalism as a government official. This is the most inappropriate, harassing, and unacceptable childish conduct of a government servant and official. This board is an elected office of this township whose job it is to govern, manage, and administer. The severity of this misconduct issue demands your immediate attention in order to begin regaining this township's integrity and responsibility. You need to hear what's out there, Bob. You can't stick your head in the sand. I have a copy for all of you. Don't know what you're going to do with it. Wanted you to each have this. You can verify it on video. And I am, like I said, shocked, appalled. I've never, in my 50-some years of being a public servant, seen or been privy to anything so appalling. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anybody else with public comment? Okay. The first thing is
I
roadside.
believe we have a letter to be read.
Oh, do we? I guess I didn't see it in the agenda.
It's in the book if you want to follow. It'll be quite on the one. Right behind you.
This one right here?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to read it, Laura, or you want?
Millington Township Board, May 18th, 2020, Lorraine Martin, 445 are viewable. I am including the letter I sent to the Township Planning Commission last week. I am very concerned about the actions of several individuals on that board. Again, they continue to not listen to individuals and our lawyers that know the ordinances and procedures that they are to follow. After viewing the video, I wonder why is it that they want to remove the safeguards that could affect the township in the future? In my opinion, it is time to remove some of the individuals on that board that continue to work through their own agenda. We need people that will act in the best interest of the township and will follow the ordinances. Millington Planning Commission, May 12th, 2025. On the agenda tonight is is that part of the letter?
Yeah, she's telling you what she read at the planning commission meeting.
On the agenda tonight is the reviewing of wording on the gravel pit and the Morris used car lot special use permits. The board should not be reviewing these per the recommendations of the township lawyer. This has been mentioned in previous meetings. There needs to be a written request first. This is just another example of how several board members just have their own agenda. They don't listen to the lawyer, they don't care what the township residents have to say, and they don't always follow the ordinances as they should. Most permits that have been put before them eventually go to the ZBA. Maybe it is time these individuals be removed from this board. I have discussed my concerns with the township supervisor, but at this time, I don't know what has taken place about the board's actions. I would like to ask the residents here at the meeting and those watching the video to encourage the township residents to attend all township meetings or view the videos. All residents deserve to know what happens at the meetings. Thank you.
Okay, new business, roadside, brush spraying. The county road commission would like us to get involved in the roadside brush spraying. What they do is they come along and they brush hog 15 foot and they spray it. To get rid of the roadside brush. At a cost of $15,000 for the total township. The next thing is edge line pavement markings. This is on Barnes Road between Sheridan Lane. I think if you remember, that road was done back in 21. And it was brought to my attention that the edge line, fog lines, if you will, never got painted on there. I went back and also the road commission went back. We did not pay for this. So we should probably do it this year at a cost of $585. And gravel road work agreement. There's several roads we looked at. I don't know if everybody got a copy of it. They should have. Okay. We're looking at Millman Road from Willard to Arvila. That'd be 1 mile at a cost of $33,300. Lane Road, which is north of Barnes and south of Barnes on both ways, at a cost of $24,850. Willard Road. This is Sheridan to Wharford, which is that mile or that, I guess, a half mile that we decided not to do last year. We really need to do it this year. At a cost of $15,950. Arbela Road from Millman to Irish. That's another half mile. Well, what it is we're going to spot that in where the bad spots are. And we figure about a half a mile needs to be done at a cost $16,050. And there's various township wide. I don't know, I think everybody got a map of it.
Yeah.
They should have. And as you can see, okay, Arbela Road, basically from Irish back to the east, there's always a water hole there, and we tried to work with it, and now we're going to go in and put a drift in there to drain the water and put more gravel in there. That should take care of it by the engineer's thoughts. And also Arbela Road from Irish to Millman. I think I already mentioned that. Okay, Arbela Road, the ditching, like I told you, from Irish Road on Arbela Road, but east of Irish Road. Right along Perkins chicken coops there. We need to dig a ditch. There was never a ditch here before to get rid of the water. Whenever they get a lot of water, there's always a pond of water there. And according to the engineer, the only way we're going to get rid of the water is to ditch it. So
in looking, there's also ditching that could be done between Homer and M15. that there's ditching in that area also that is grown in, and I think that should be.
Is there a water spot there?
There's nowhere for the water to go. So that needs to be ditched out so that the Eve has a good flow. So I would like that one looked into as well.
Also,
Thank you.
I guess I didn't know about that. So you're saying Fulmer Road from,
No, on Arbela Road,
from Fulmer to M15?
between Homer and F15, if you're doing that area, that there are areas in there also that is not cleared. So that would, because they're in the area, that would make sense.
Oh, yeah, I
To
mean,
look
if it's
at
a
that.
problem, but, I know we didn't realize it was a problem, so. So that's what, we're looking at.
Have we not done the roadside spraying? You said that.
We
want us to
wrote
get
saying,
involved.
yeah, I guess other townships, they go back 15 foot from the edge of the road. And they clean all the brush and stuff out, and then they spray it to kill the new growth. And, so.
Where did they want to do that?
The whole township. And there's also, a no spray policy that they could fill out on the website, if they don't want their property sprayed. There is a form on the website that they could fill out and send in, and they would put up signs not to spray and stuff.
That was my question, so thank you.
Yep.
It's my understanding that when the spraying helps a lot, it keeps the growth from coming in, and then the road dries out faster.
Get sunlight to it, air to it. And like I say, the first thing they do is go through a truck hog it, and then they spray it to kill all the new growth.
And it says that the cost is actually, but the final bill will be based on the actual number of gallons sprayed, so.
Right.
Would you like me to introduce Director John Rivers?
Yes, I would.
Are they all done with others then?
I think so. I really explained it.
Thanks. So tonight we do have, Director John Ramirez with us, and he's gonna explain, the new 911, like the safety alerting. And so actually, I'm just as new to all of this, so I'm excited to learn about it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Ramirez. I'm the director of Tuscola County 911. Some of you look familiar, as I used to be a deputy down there in Millington Township, but moved on to Greenwood pastures, if you will. So in the past, we used to use Rave Alert System to deliver public alerting. And as my role has expanded as a 911 director, I began to speak with residents throughout the county. And one of the things I have learned is public expectation, right? People, when they dial 911, they have an expectation to be met with help. So as our contract with Rave Alerts and trying to be as fiscally responsible as I could, I sought out replacements. And one of the companies that I really took a hard look at is Code Red. And ultimately it is who we decided to go with. And don't have enough flyers for everyone out here, but I did post it on the board. If you'd like to see after the meeting, but I did give each one of you, in case they have questions, they can come to you for that. So there are 3 ways that you can register. All right. First one is there's a QR code up on this page up here. You can just scan it and it'll take you to the website to fill out a profile, if you will. You're going to add your phone number, you're going to add your email, and then you get to sign up. It's under the subscription tab, which kind of alerts you'd like to receive. I only offer 4 based alerts for Tuscola County that are weather. Those alertings that you receive only come out from the National Weather Service. So my dispatchers don't have to send notices or warnings that whether it be tornado, thunder, or winter storm warnings, things like that, automatically sent from the National Weather Service. So you get those as quickly as possible. Another way that you can register is online, which the web address is up here. And the third and final way is to text. If you were to text the number 24639, that is also up here. that gets you into the website as well. I'm a patient of the VA, so all my doctor's appointments are through text, right? So it seemed natural to me to, hey, you have an appointment on Monday, June 19th, and then you apply to confirm things like that. So it's pretty easy. As I've traveled around the county, I'm kind of focusing on my elderly population. So if you have loved ones that maybe feel like they're a bother to get them to help sign up for these alerts, please, they have my business cards. You can get a hold of me either on Facebook or just call the non-emergency line and they'll transfer you to my desk. Either I can do a home visit or I can set up an account for them on my desk over the phone and get them subscribe to the alerts that they like. Another thing about this alerting system is that it offered the new technology that I was really looking for. On the old alert system, it really was dependent upon everyone creating their own profiles. And one of the things that I like to leverage are my peers that work in public safety. So up in Caro, we have an established school safety group, right? So every other month, myself, the emergency manager, and all the school districts get together and we talk about things that maybe we're seeing in Millington schools versus Cass City or USA or Reese. And we have the school resource officers in there. And one of the things that I'm leveraging this solution for is so that when one of our schools in our county experiences a lockdown or a shelter in place, we push an alert to all the administrators that need to know. Because what we're finding is schools still aren't calling 911. They're still not notifying parents in a timely fashion, right? So as long as I can get the administrators on board and that would be creating accounts for them, right, into my system, as long as we share that information of what's going on in the county, we can start that ball rolling of communication. So it really offers me a lot of latitude, lateral movements to assist in public safety in the county. Another great how much time do I have? I want to take too much. Okay. Another tool that this software often allows me to use, and I really am thankful for, is geofencing. So if you had your DPW director, you had a water main break, and you have a boil water advisory, that department can contact 911 and we will push an alert out to all the residents that are affected. We can geofence, we can set an imaginary line around their village or any other affected area, whatever it may be. And we can send alerts just to those people that are affected. One of the complaints, so several of the complaints I used to get from the old system was, these alerts don't matter to me. I live in Unionville and the tornadoes in Millington or Vassar, and I don't care. So those are some of those options that I was looking for shopping for a new system. When the system first went live, and I've been sharing this as I go around the county, is we had a young man experiencing a mental health crisis. He left home after a verbal altercation. He was of good health, so he wasn't missing and endangered, but there was still some concern that he was going to harm himself. So we were able to establish a geofence. I did 10 miles because he was of good health, could travel quickly. Maybe he got picked up from a friend. We established, and this was in Arvila Township. So down there, it incorporates Genesee and Saginaw County, but you get out 10 miles. And how we were able to gain this information is sometimes there are alerts that you don't sign up for and you're going to get. And I do allow my dispatchers discretion to send those type of alerts that are immediate life and property damage dangers. Okay. So in this case, I sent the alerts. So recently, if you had a phone update, an iPhone update, or Android, or you downloaded the newest games are out there, there's always that privacy policy that nobody reads and you click okay. That allows, there's verbiage in there that allows the federal government to collect your phone number, your location, So if you have a phone number and your address registered to you, there are times where it's impending danger that I could send that alert and you're going to get it, even if you didn't sign up. So that we do leverage that because obviously we want everyone to be as safe as possible. It doesn't allow me to see your information. It just, you're going to get it. And safety is what we're driving for. So that's a phenomenal, phenomenal tool. In that instance, we were able to notify almost 10,000 people. Some of the other technologies shouldn't be surprising, but you can launch these alerts from my phone as a mobile app, as well as the emergency manager, Steve Anderson. We work very, very closely together. And that's kind of it. Also up here on the board is a FAQ or frequently asked question sheet. It is double-sided. I would love to handle all your questions, but I think a lot of them can be answered on that sheet.
What's that text number?
24639, sir.
I just wondered if the six was there. Thank you.
No problem. Now, I will tell you, when you register for an account, it'll give you the phone number that the alerts are going to come from. Same with that number. That number will also be the number that should you get an alert. We highly recommend saving those in your phone as code red so that you're not thinking it's another spam caller at 2 a.m. I do, every time we launch an alert, it seems that I do get a voicemail or a Facebook message that says, hey, I think this is spam. Well, no, that was just us giving you a heads up that there's a tornado heading your way. But yeah, check out that information. I've left information with your board. If you have any direct questions, please feel free to contact me in any way. My email is also on my business cards for them. And then I could really quickly touch on the pamphlet that I left you. 911 is kind of a thing that we don't think about, right? We think about our fire departments, we think about our ambulances, we think about our police departments. And I've worked for 17 years with all of those agencies in Tuscola County. I have a very intricate and good relationship with all of them. But as I took over 911, I realized nobody knows about it. Nobody knows how is it funded? How is it governed? Where does our money go? What money? Am I paying money to 911? So I do have some pamphlets, so if you're interested, I can share these. I'll be presenting my annual report to the Board of Commissioners on June 9th at the committee of the whole meeting. So this is kind of a snapshot of what I'm going to give you. So you're kind of getting the insider trading, right? I'm telling you our secrets for Tuscola County. But on the front, it talks about what is 911, how are we funded? We collect surcharge money only. So if you have a landline or a cell phone, you're paying $2.03 a month for 911 service. That number has not changed since 2013. I don't know about you folks, but I wish I still had the bills I had in 2013, 12 years ago. So if you kind of see where this is going, you see where this is going. My dispatchers, if I'm fully staffed, is 10 dispatchers that run a 24/7 operation for 53,000 residents in Tuscola County. I do have 2 open positions, so I've been running 8 dispatchers for a 24/7 operation for the last year. It is extremely stressful because hearing things is a lot harder or more difficult than it is seeing them sometimes. Having been on the road and done my own death investigations and next of kin notifications, I would rather do that job any day of the week over than somebody on the phone. So that's a little bit about that. And as you open it up, we talk about what is Next Gen 911. We truly are a very progressive 911 center in the state of Michigan. We were one of the first to bring Third Live, which is a video streaming service. So if you called 911, don't be shocked if what you're reporting, my dispatcher says, I'm going to send you a link so that I can see what you're seeing. And you go ahead and click on that link. And what that link allows us to do is to see through your camera and your cell phone. And we're going to ask you to show us what you're looking at. Primarily what we use those for are reported fires, structure fires. Every fire department in Tuscola County is volunteer. So it takes them a little bit to get on the road and get the equipment that they need out and about. And we staffing volunteers, it's just not a mentality that the newer generations have. So any kind of structure for once we see flames showing, we're sending 2 other departments because we just don't have the manpower anymore. But if it's during a daytime run, don't be surprised if we're sending 5 or 6. So if my dispatchers can see what's on fire, is it a chicken coop or is it a 30 by 40 pole? Is it a 2-story residential or a single-story ranch? So, that helps us relay that information to the fire chiefs and those making the decisions to provide the best response for you, the residents. Another first that we did in Tuscola County or in the state of Michigan was we do our medical alerts and your security like ADT or brakes or any of those. They now text us to 911. So therefore it leaves our non-emergency and our emergency lines open for my staff to answer your emergencies. Not that alarms are not emergent, but it allows them to stay focused on, it's really quick to send an alert, or a message back to the alarm company and still answer the 911 calls. There are standards that we have to meet, how fast we answer 911 calls. God's honest truth, as director, I have to tell you, we cheat the system a little bit. Our manpower has not changed since 1997. So a lot of times if you call 911 and we put you on hold, it's because another call is coming in. We just don't have the manpower to deal with the call volumes that we have. Again, only 2 people. One answers every phone and the other dispatches all the resources. In the middle of the pamphlet, I've included a breakdown of our financials. Also, if you go to the TuscolaCounty.org website and go to the agencies and breakdown, you'll see 911's up top. I encourage you, look at 911. I include my authority board meeting minutes on there. The authority board is my governing body. I report to them and I work for the board of commissioners. So I always have a check and balance. I believe in transparency. We will show you our financials. If you look at this, you'll see that 911 has been operating in a negative deficit or in a deficit for several years. And quite frankly, if something has not changed, we will run out of money and close the doors by August of next year. And I've been very vocal and public about this for over a year now. And then lastly, is this last page, the last fold of the trifold. And you don't have to raise hands, but I think all of us knows someone that has called 911, whether it's you've called for yourself or you've had to call for a neighbor or you knew someone that had an emergency. I just selected several crime statistics for you. I do want to point out the disclaimer at the bottom that 2023, we launched a new software, primarily because I saw an electronic security breach or possibility of a breach with the company that we were contracted with. And we were able to get out of the contract with them, saving the county $400,000 in the course of 3 years. So again, I'm fiscally responsible. I try and protect everyone's identity. The company was involved in a class action lawsuit in Florida. We then went to the new CAD. So 2023, the statistics aren't complete for the whole year. But I've taken some of these and compared the crime increase from 2022 to 2024. And I do apologize. They have this information in front of them. I do have several that I can pass out. But what crimes are important to you? I did talk about medical alarms, security alarms. We saw a 49% increase in 2 years. Animal complaints, this is a hot topic. We saw a 58% increase. Assaults, I can tell you as an officer, this never goes away, but we saw a 71% increase of assaults in 2 years. Breaking and entries. We just, I believe our Beulah Township just handled a large B&E at their storage facility, their rentals. But we saw a 76% increase on those. Unfortunately, criminal sexual conduct crimes, they're not going away. I won't speak to them, but we saw a 3% increase. I can tell you that for a fact, when we were closing everything down for COVID, that was the most detrimental thing. Politics aside, that was the worst thing that happened to our children in Tuscola County, across the state and across the nation. Because believe it or not, schools may be the safest place for some of these children. And when we saw the children came back to school, return to school, we saw a huge rise. Not that the crimes weren't happening. There was just no caring teacher to hear the stories or to see the evidence to report. They are mandated reporters. So a lot of these things were just going unreported. But we did have a 3% increase. Domestic assaults have gone up 45%. And on this pamphlet, I do want to speak on this one because this one is really, I'm passionate about this one. It's the fire category. Holy smokes, John, the fire calls went up 165%. How is that even possible? Do we have an arsonist? Do we have no. Collaborating with my peers in public safety, we were able to work with all police chiefs and fire chiefs in Tuscola County that if we have a full arrest or an impending arrest, they're being dispatched. Why is that important? Well, truly the key to survival is early hands-on chest. Early hands-on chest, good CPR. We realize not everyone has access to an AED, but we're going to ask, do you have one available? But believe it or not, they're starting to send people home, patients home with AEDs. Why is that important? Well, I can tell you that in 2023, we led the state in Tuscola County. I remember in high school, not to date myself, but Steve Lay was my coach at one time. We were known as Podunk, the kids from Podunk, right? Well, Podunk led the state in cardiac saves in 2023 at 13%, right? But that was because we got buy-in from all of our police chiefs and all of our fire chiefs, the sheriff, everyone. If there's an officer available, we would go. And I can give you a story. Not that long ago, and Mr. Clark knows very well, I would get in trouble because I would go to medicals. When I was working Millington or Beulah Township, hey, that's what you guys pay me for. Hey, I'm gonna go to a medical. I'm gonna at least hold their hand, or I'm gonna start CPR, something. So that's what these guys are doing, and then we see a tangible benefit from this teamwork. 13%. And just last week at our all hazards meeting, we learned our numbers for 2024. This is, I'm telling you, I can talk all night about 911. We lead the state again at 13.9%. Right? It doesn't sound, we think CPR on TV, it works. You're gonna save lives. In 17 years, I can count on one hand how many saves I have. Right? So it's very important to everyone that's a taxpayer to realize that, these men and women are leaving jobs, they're leaving families. I do it. I'm on a volunteer fire department. This is what these guys live for, man. We're going to transport, and we find out later on that they're alive. That makes their day. But just a few things that I wanted to showcase of what 911 is doing, especially with our first responders. Love to share it. I'd love to talk about it. And if you ever want to talk it, discuss it, and give me a jingle. I love to hear this stuff. But does anyone have any questions before I step away? Is anyone in the audience? I don't like leaving stuff unanswered. So if you have questions, please answer.
I'm sure the loss of landlines has not helped.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
6 pages,
I can honestly tell you that I'm now hiring dispatchers that don't even know what phone book is. Right? Because they have Google, right? Google's everything. But I can show you, and actually, what? I think I might put my annual reports online. I haven't thought about that before. But in my annual reports, I do go in depth more into the phone line counts and the budgeting of the revenue that we have. And in about 2019 is when we crossed the threshold of our expenses outpaced our revenue. Then we started operating in deficits. But yeah, you want to talk about stagnant. When you work in numbers and trending graphs, you trend lines, and that sucker is as straight as an arrow. It's like, man. So it's a little bit discouraging, but absolutely, we've got so much technology that, if a dispatcher from 10 years ago, 15 years ago was to walk in today, it wouldn't have run. I mean, that's that when we say multitasking, we're thinking like cooking dinner, watching the kids, and answering Jeopardy questions, right? No, my men and women, they're bouncing 3, 4, 911 calls. They're doing CPR. They're got a kid that walked away. We're on the phone getting a canine. We're doing all these things, man. It's amazing. Even the technology. When we talk about after 9/11, we tried to integrate our communications. We've upgraded that now to where we can connect with even the Coast Guard when we do ice rescues. Yes, sir.
I don't want to know technology. Can you lock in on a cell phone where they can't disconnect?
So we can do what's called a ping. We can lock in on a cell phone. However, right? There is a certain criteria that law enforcement has to meet before we can request that essentially search warrant. That's what that is. It's a search warrant for a location of a person. So it's up to law enforcement to meet that criteria. Okay. Now, what I can tell you is that within the 911 dispatch center, I like to use this as an example over at Willow Springs Golf Course last year. We had a young man that, if anybody dials 911 accidentally, butt dials, whatever, please stay on the line. We're going to call you back or send an officer. This gentleman was out on Willow Springs Golf Course, and our technology that we have, we can see him walking down the fairway, walking into the sand trap or the beach. And, he ended up, he did actually need an ambulance because he smoked the ball against the tree and hit himself in the head. So it's very accurate that, even though he dropped one, we still saw him walking on the golf course. And it actually happens quite a bit for golfers. So sometimes my dispatchers have a little fun and say, I hope your game gets better or something. But that's a different criteria. We're not searching for your location, but in the event that we hear something on an open line, we can get your location.
Well, that's like Berkeley or that line stay open then?
It depends on the person that makes the call. All right. If they hang up the phone, we can't listen. Okay. But we know their last known location.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Referring to the ping, that actually happened in July 15th of 2023. They had pinged me when I was on the pasture getting trampled by my cattle.
Okay.
Yeah, they were able to locate where I was, and they sent me a ping to
Yeah.
bring me out. But anyways, how do you increase on the cell phone so we can pay more, so we don't lose it?
Good question. And this is it's going to be a difficult conversation, right? I believe in transparency of government. I want to know where my tax money is going. So strategically, there's only 2 ways that we can raise money for 911. Both of them require a ballot. If we raise surcharge alone, the maximum we can raise it to is to $3. And that has to be approved by the people of Tuscola County. We've done the math based upon the phone lines that we receive money from. It's not enough. So the state is contemplating, the state 911 committee. It belongs to the state of Michigan. It's a department of MSP, Michigan State Police. They're talking about raising that surcharge limit. But if anybody has worked with the government, you know it's like molasses in March. The other way is we have to do a millage. That it's not easy to ask for a millage. Me personally, I didn't take it lightly when I went before the commissioners for one, because we have 11. We have 11 millages currently on the ballots in Tuscola County. But the reason that we have 11 is because we don't have a millage for county operations. So what the county has decided to do is let the voters decide what they do and do not fund. So as I said, I've been kind of approaching this budget issue over the last almost 18 months now. And same projection. I don't think we're gonna get through 2026. We're not getting through 2026. Okay, now I have a date. We're gonna get to August of 2026, right? So coming down to a deadline that also needs to be on a ballot. So we're gonna have hopefully a very good conversation with commissioners. Just for an idea, this is not set in stone by any means, but if we were to host a special election, which costs about 65,000 to host one, because of, especially now, because of the 9 days early voting and stuff. If we held a November election, my deadline to register for a millage is August 12th. Well, we're meeting June 9th to start our first discussion. So we're going to be coming right at the finish line at this thing, right? So those are the two ways, and truthfully, taxpayers have the say in this. Some people have asked me, what's the backup plan? What if it doesn't? Well, then I will be working very quickly with a neighboring county to organize the transportation of information and services to them. 911, believe it or not, is not mandated as a county level. The Tuscola County, if they don't want to host 911, they don't have to. But all of that funding will go to another county that says we'll do it. Now, I can tell you that the two counties that operate the same systems that we do are Huron and Lapeer. Huron dispatch is smaller than mine. And Lapeer, although it's larger, they have more openings. They're short staffed. They're really short staffed. And at the end of the day, it doesn't happen. You're still going to be paying myself, my deputy director, and my employees benefits because not all paid off. So those are the two ways. Both require ballots. Both require voter approval. So we do have an uphill discussion, but I feel encouraged by it. I have good communication with, especially, honestly, Millington. I was just at the village meeting last week, 2 weeks last Monday, and this week with you folks. And, you know, like I said, I've worked Millington. I've worked with Vila Township for three tours, and Millington 2, and Vassar Township 1. So I have spent a lot of time in the southern districts of Tuscola County, and you folks have some interesting areas, you know, beautiful country, and I think reasonable people. Certainly, there are other townships that go to that are like, wow, we're not paying for it. Well, you're my highest call line, so. But any other questions before I step?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Does this have to go through the commissioners in order to get to the ballot?
Yes.
No, are there any way we could help with the commissioners?
So when the time comes, if the time comes, you may either invite me back or invite yourself to ask for support, letter of support. You know, and obviously.
Are the residents, could we sign like a petition or anything like that?
If you don't know, that's my honest answer. I have to. We're getting the cart before the horse, but these are all questions I'm asking. All right. So I do know that if we move forward, I have to form an election committee. I know that I can't spend any of dispatch money on a millage or an election campaign. So there's a lot of footwork with donations and all of those things. So it will be interesting.
We could talk to our county commissioner and maybe encourage him. That's very important.
Yeah, you know, I did come down on the request of Commissioner Lewis and talk with Aspire and the village council. So, you know, I think getting a hold of your commissioners is a great idea. But yeah, well, I look forward to speaking with all of you again.
I know that the commissioners are very concerned about transport and they go hand in hand, right? So if we don't have ambulances, I mean, you gotta have 911 to get the ambulance there. I mean, they just gotta be together.
Yeah, speaking of ambulances, we have 3 services in the county. We have MMR, we have volunteers in Mayville, Mayville Ambulance, and we have ACW up in Unionville. ACW and Mayville cannot do transfers. They're only emergent care. Both of them pay a special millage to their respective areas. But I can tell you, being on Unionville Fire and Unionville Rescue, our ambulance was in Caro 6 times over the weekend. Right? So I'm a taxpayer, I'm paying for that ambulance, but it's not servicing my district, it's servicing someone else. So there's a lot of things that are, it's mutual aid, because any type of ALS call or advanced life support call, we're taking an MR ambulance out of their area to come up with help us because we're only BLS, basic life support. It has become, it used to be, we would call for an ambulance out of Bay County. They're not in our medical director's control. They're under their own. And so where it became a challenge is Bay City would say CPR, nope, load them and go. Well, even in Unionville, you're 25 minutes from the nearest hospital. I'm here to tell you, you cannot do effective CPR in a moving vehicle, right? Whereas our protocols is we're going to work you on scene. We're going to work you anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, depending on your age and viability of life. The paramedics are going to push drugs to you. We're going to do relentless CPR on you. That's why we have things called the Lucas device. It's a mechanical battery operated device that we do CPR instead of people getting tired and our CPR varying. So it's a very collaborative effort that we get to that 13.9%. So I hope that in the end, another company, I believe Challenge is good, but also at the same time, when we talk about contracts, bringing in another company, whether it be MedStar, Patriot, or anyone else, they're certainly going to undercut to get that business. And I won't name names, but in Bay County, a company undercut another service to get their foot in the door, and they ended up closing shop because they couldn't deliver the numbers. So it's very interesting. It's, if you ever get a chance to listen to Andy, I don't recall his last name, but he's the CEO of Aspire Health. He will tell you, if you can take the health out of healthcare, now we can start to have a tone. Because it comes down to the dollar. If we cared about people, it's a whole different conversation until you bring in money. So we got a lot of things to look at, a lot of things to juggle. But I do welcome these discussions. I think that's how everybody learns. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, John.
Can I just leave the several that I have on the table? Sure. And close to those?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, next thing on the agenda is Robert Bernard.
Good evening. So a couple of updates from the ZBA. For one, we updated our bylaws with them being fully approved on April 24th. And we also updated the application for the Zoning Board of Appeals hearings that was on March 25th. Those have already been approved. And this is just for your information though, but there they both are for you. Next item, compensation for ZBA meetings. So as we went through those bylaw review, it was brought up by at least one member that there was concern of the compensation strategy for what the ZBA meets for special meetings. They didn't have any disagreement over the amount, but it was if multiple special hearings are done on the same evening, they're being paid one time, so they're only being paid for one. And it was a decision of the group to at least bring it forward and be paid based on each special hearing if we combine them and schedule it. There's been more appeals lately, so we've been trying to just put them together for the sake of being efficient. So we bring that for your consideration. And then finally, seeking, Mr. Loomis had asked me to come through and ask for formal approval to hire the township attorney for the next CBA meeting. At our last special meeting, we found a need for it, so the group did a motion and is requesting for that support during our next meeting.
What's your biggest concern, Robert, about the meeting? Why do you need an attorney there? What's the reasoning for it? I guess I'm looking at the cost of probably $1,500 to bring it here.
It was issues that were brought up by the property owner and their legal counsel.
You mean as far as conflict of interest?
That was one.
Okay, because I thought Tammy already answered this with through our
We have-
attorney through email.
We have received some communication on that. I'm still here to
I'm
make
just,
the request, so an option may be to have it available via telephone or via Zoom, something of that nature for a closed session if necessary. But that request was made during the meeting, so
Yep.
I'm here to present it.
yeah, I'm not so sure he needs to be here, but probably on call or even Zoom would be fine.
I think any of them would be suitable, but I'm just following the motion
Because
and
I'm
making
looking
my
at 3 hours here and 3 hours back
understood.
and $250 an hour.
Well, that's one of the reasons we got the Zoom platform for being able, and you could share documents to him through the Zoom. And then he could also comment at the meeting. So that would be a good option. If you think that would be workable.
I think having them available to the ZBA is the goal. However, that needs to occur. But currently I'm at stalled on being able to schedule the meeting, so that's why I'm here. So allow me to move forward.
I think it's very important that you move forward soon
Mhm.
to get that taken care of as soon as possible.
Agreed.
Just to make sure the board understands, if they do closed session with the attorney and they do a phone conversation or they meet with them via Zoom, which I like the concept, the audience would have to step out for that closed session and then they would let the audience back in. I just want to make sure everyone understands that that would happen.
Well, could you have like a phone conversation, go over to the fire hall?
Potentially, they could do a phone
That's
conversation,
available. I can see that.
but that would.
Yeah, just say, we're gonna go in closed session, can we go over to the fire hall? Have a,
But then you couldn't share any documentation if you did that, if that was a necessity.
but you should have the documentation on Zoom.
Yeah.
During closed session. Oh,
So how it works, Robert, is the person that is talking or, presents documentation
Mhm.
needs to submit it beforehand so that
Okay.
we can have it uploaded
Okay,
and ready to be at our disposal at the meeting. So
Sure.
when someone gives us information, last meeting, I believe it didn't come in very long ahead of time. I believe you got information, what time,
Just.
like an hour before the meeting?
it was shortly before. I don't know. the
Shortly
exact
before the
time.
meeting, so anything would need to be shared with Mr. Bernard early so that he could upload it, so that the attorney could review it in case it would need to be a part of closed session.
Mhm.
So it would be very important, and I think, that would be an important part of the Zoom process.
That last meeting and the information that we were given to look at was 77 pages at 5 or 10 minutes to 6.
Right,
Could not be done. So
right. So it almost, and that
I mean,
information is supposed to be, 24 hours ahead of time? And
Public comment may be tough for, but I caution us from speaking too far in depth of a
Right.
CBA case.
Right, but all our meetings, this meeting also, if there's information that needs to be discussed at the meeting, it should be done 24 hours ahead of time. So you have time to consider it.
That would be a policy to consider adding. We currently do not have one.
Our policy is actually the Friday at noon.
Yeah, ours is Friday at noon that needs to be presented so that it can be put in email so that we can look at it over the weekend.
Our agenda and information is listed in our bylaws, but yeah, any additional information from others. They have till 4 p.m. essentially for public comment. Yeah. That might be worth looking at next time we look at our bylaws. Right, any other questions for me?
Excited to be able to move forward.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Okay, next is discussion on the using Baucom to call attorney for the FOIAs, and that I requested that one on there. FOIAs are very serious, so I reached out to, and this was just a one-time thing, but I'd already met Michael Vila. He's with I don't even know, he's the, yes, he's not the,
Isn't he for MTA?
yes, he's through MTA, so I met him a couple of times, and there are other clerks that I have met with that have spoken very highly of him in the past, and I ran into an issue with getting in touch with our attorneys, and I had a question that needed to be answered, and I was not getting any response. I reached out to them, they got right back to me. The situation has been handled, and it was a very good working relationship where I did not have that in the past. I feel different people work with different people in different ways. And I just clicked with the attorney from the Baucom and Thal for FOIAs, and that's his specialty.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's the thing. It was his specialty.
Yeah,
right?
that was his niche. So we did go ahead and use him. So I would like permission to continue for me to use him for FOIAs in the future.
FOIAs only.
Yeah, that's since I have to deal with those. That's what he was. Okay.
Okay, the next thing is discussion on township attorney. I've got the same situation. On March 31st, I contacted him. I got a lady in Canada that wants to sell some property in Murphy Lake. It took me 10 days to get a response. The next time I contacted him, it took me 4 days to get a response. And his answer was, on April 25th, 2025, I have been in contact with Tammy discussing our office and response to questions we received from the township. I can receive and respond to questions. However, I do a lot of collective bargaining for our clients and often am out of the office for multiple days in a week as bargaining is on site for our client's office. This means that often I will not always get to emails for several days. Accordingly, my recommendations for questions about the ordinance interpretation, legal research, etc., that township individuals reach out to Tim Perone as the primary contact, as he can generally get a response turned around within a day or less.
So
Um,
yeah, that was my.
this is from Gordon Love. These emails, I did direct them to Gordon and, well, I guess it was just for Gordon. And the second time it was Gordon and Tim. I don't like dealing with Tim. So I think, and I've had a couple classes through the Baucom Thal attorneys, Seth, the Right to Farm program, and also the introduction to planning and zoning. I thought they'd done a very good job, and I think they'll do us a lot better job than the attorneys we got today.
So why don't you like Tim?
I just don't. He acts like you're bothering them to.
Oh, I've never
reach out
felt
to him.
that. when
Well, I
reached out
have.
to him.
And I probably reach out to them quite a bit.
I've always gotten real good
Well,
response.
I'm just telling you.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
I've gotten very good response. When I worked with him on the contract, the employee contract, he was very good. He got back to me. He explained what was going on and why. He's very thorough. Just as an example, when we asked about the zoning board of appeals, when he returns a letter, he gives the response as to what he's saying. He provides what he's basing his answer on. And then he also comes up with a conclusion, totally verifying what's going on. And we have a lot of issues that are going on in our township that our attorneys are very aware of. And to reintroduce this to a new set of attorneys because you don't get along with someone and these people do a very good job and they're very thorough and they give accurate answers. I cannot see why we would want to change attorneys at this time. For Laura to go with someone that specializes in FOIA, I'm totally fine with that. I understand that. But we were directed to go to Tim when we have issues. And by you going to Gordon and not following the direction of going to Tim and then complaining because they don't get back in time and they have to send you an email that states this is why you're supposed to go to Tim, I don't feel that's an adequate reason to switch attorneys.
You're totally wrong about that, Sharon, because Gordon is our contact person and I have reached out to Tim before and got no response.
No, Tim is our contact person.
No, you ain't.
You were just
Gordon is.
told that.
What if
He is now, but I'm talking in the past.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
I'm pretty sure that Gordon explained that when he came in.
Yeah,
He
did.
Tim was.
Well, I'm not getting good response from either one, so that's why I'm here. That's why I brought it up.
I'm getting very good response and I trust their opinions and I trust their conclusions to the questions. You know, what kind of questions are you sending them? Are you sending them all the information? Are they clearly knowing what you're asking?
Is it possible that, since we don't have a contract with either, we're not locked into anything. Clearly moving forward with the issues that we've got right now, staying, with the attorneys that are working with you guys, everyone works together differently. Is there any way we can work this out?
I think there's too much overlapping to try and do that.
I've always found Tim to be very pleasant and get back and I appreciate his, like you mentioned, the description, the why, where his opinion comes from. So it's not just his opinion, it's law. He's got case studies that he'll cite if needed. I find that to be very comforting and helpful.
You're assuming another lawyer wouldn't treat that the same way.
The lawyers we had before, I don't remember ever hearing any case laws or why their opinion was that way.
And I just feel we have too many issues in the fire and lawsuits going on that are against us that we need to stick with the people that are giving us good, solid information and supporting it.
Well, I don't agree with you, but that's fine. Okay, next thing is discussion on the blight ordinance.
That was me.
Okay.
Last meeting, Tammy had brought pictures of, people that had complaints and she had brought pictures of before and after. I'm wanting us to be extremely cautious. You guys all have heard my side. I'm not for more ordinances against things. I am a very, it's your property. If you pay your property taxes, it's yours. And I don't think there should be a ton of restrictions against you. I think that's why I like where I live. If you do want a lot of restrictions as to what your property should look like, and if you want any say over what your neighbor's property looks like, you need to move to an HOA. I felt when Tammy brought those to us with the pictures and we compared them, yes, the people had made progress. And I honestly, I never had any issues with the complaints that had been made against the people previously. But we quickly said, yeah, they've made progress. So we decided to close those cases, but I don't feel we actually looked into it and made sure they matched our ordinances. We just want to make sure if we're going to be getting rid of things, it still needs to follow the ordinances. And honestly, I'm in favor of getting rid of some ordinances, but until they're gone, we need to make sure we're sticking with, like I said, I never had an issue with any of those complaints because I didn't mind what was in any of those guys' yards. It doesn't bother me in the least. It's their property, they pay their taxes. But if we're gonna vote to dismiss it or like, okay, it's gotta go away, it's gotta follow the ordinance. So we might even want to just look at the ordinances and see if there's any ordinances we can get rid of.
I agree with you, Laura. We do need to stay with ordinances. So, and there is a possibility of changing things in the future.
Okay.
But at this point in time, I totally agree that if it's in the ordinance, that's what we need to follow. And the changing that has such a lot of steps to it, that I agree with you.
So I just want us to be cautious. I don't want to be like, if it, yeah, sure, let's close it because they've made some progress, but I mean, is it still fitting within the ordinance of what we currently have? So that was my concerns. That was it.
Okay,
If I may, I did share with the board, because blight ordinance was on here, in working through the blight ordinance as well as, with our civil infraction policy and then with the, I'm not gonna call it right, so let me pull it up here. I did find some inconsistencies, and so not knowing what you were actually talking about tonight, I sent you red line versions of what potentially could change to make sure that it's the building code ordinance. Make sure that the building code ordinance, the blight ordinance, and the municipal civil infraction policy and procedures all match. You had a summary of what I would propose for changes as well as the red line master for each one of those. I don't know if now is the appropriate time for you to look at that, but since it was on the agenda, I wanted you to see those. I think the board would have to direct the planning commission to make those amendments if that is something that you so desire.
I think that what you put together makes it so much clearer. And it does show how these things can work together to our benefit and get things done more quickly. Reading through and I made little notes, oh, that's good, that makes sense, So I think this is a very good basis of something that the planning commission probably could work with to get these to where they will all work together and one enforces the other.
Well, and our building code ordinance was very outdated, and so the laws have changed since that ordinance was enacted, so there's things that conflict with the present law right now that need to be done.
And so that has to be fixed because we're not compliant with the law.
That's correct.
So to do these as a, not as package, but all three together made
Certainly
much sense. And the way you've got it written out here and put together, I think the planning commission could work with that in a much quicker manner than some of our other ordinances have been able to be.
has this been presented to the planning commission?
No,
No.
I sent it to you because you
Okay.
had the blight ordinance on your, and I wanted you to see my ideas.
The thing is, will the planning commission work with her? Will they take her suggestions and her ideas?
She hasn't tried yet.
She tried with other things and they totally ignored.
It would be up
What are you going to do
It
to
would be up
help
to
the
the
planning
board.
commission work with her? You know how some of our meetings have been. You have not been supportive or directive of anything that could change. What changes would you suggest? Since you're the supervisor of the township, I was sure you ought to have some leadership information to pass on to the planning commission so that we can work better together.
Robert, can I talk to you about something?
I'm sure you can.
So you asked, what did the zoning administrator take to the planning commission? And they asked her to take, a zoning, special land use permit where she got the information that she had in it, to give them a template. She gave them the template ahead of time at their meeting, went through it with them at their meeting. They discussed it a little and decided they needed to read it at home, made a motion to revisit it, and this was in February, to revisit it and discuss all the possibilities of the template. To this date, they have not done so. So when you ask what is the zoning administrator presented to them and that they've worked with her on, they didn't work with her on any of that.
And the special use permits that she has put together and noted why these things are added and where they come from in Michigan case law and the zoning enabling act. Things that the planning commission isn't right up on top of. And they take all that out. They don't give any credence to her knowledge. They don't even look up what she tells them, where to find this for their own information. And that is putting the township at a disadvantage. And I'm quite concerned when I have to sit there at a meeting and say, the lawyer said we need to do this, and it goes nowhere. Or Tammy can say from the enabling act, this is how it's supposed to be, and it goes nowhere. So we need some direction from our supervisor on how to help get the planning commission to help them all work together with our zoning administrator. The fellow that was just here talking, there is a tangible benefit from teamwork. That is not just in law enforcement, that is across everything, including township government.
And then as another example of us giving them direction as a township board. In last month's meeting, a motion was made to require a written request for changes to special land use permits. And at their last planning commission meeting, the only thing they said is we have verbal requests. We passed a motion for them to require a written request, and they did not honor our motion. So the planning commission members are not honoring or following the direction of this board. I'd like to know your comment.
Can I ask, was that delivered to them?
Yes, I brought it up on every
Wasn't that,
permit that they talked.
I never heard that the board directed that we get a written report.
Luann has said that many times. If you watch,
Or did the lawyer suggest that?
no,
No, the lawyer said it, the board approved it. We need a written request. We also need a clause.
you have heard this many times
But
and you refuse.
In our ordinance, it states, and I don't have it right in front of me, but it is stated that we can, on our own initiative,
Okay.
start this process. And that
No,
was
there has
supported.
to be a request and
No.
need and justification.
On our own initiative.
No, a
in
need
black
and
and white.
a need and justification. You're not supporting a need or a justification, and it needs to be a written request, and you are ignoring that.
You always stop at and don't read the last part of that sentence, Ed. And it says proof of need and justification of the request. We are not to change permits just because somebody said, hey, I want to change my permit. They have to come in and show proof. Here's a hardship. Here's a reason. This is why I need it. And then the board looks at changing. But you always stop and never read the part that says, and proof of need and justification in the request. That's from the ordinance.
Well, these minutes, when we make a motion, you need to deliver our minutes to the board.
Well, they weren't approved yet, or I would, but they will be at the next one
When
now that they're
they
approved.
disobey that, you bring that back to us, and then we need to do something that's appropriate.
That's right. Now that they're
So-
approved, I can
Right.
get these minutes to them.
They should be doing what we tell them to do when we make a motion to tell them.
I agree, 100%.
So how we get more teamwork? We need to put it in a motion and make them do more teamwork.
We did make a motion for them to follow certain steps for special land use permits, and they never followed them. They never
Well-
had that paper out there to follow them. We've done that all boards are to follow these certain steps. And they were given that information. They don't, they choose not to follow.
When you deliver this document to the planning commission, you noted that you showed it in the meeting,
They'll be in the
and
minutes.
then we're gonna go from here.
Okay.
Okay, zoning administrator report.
That's the word.
So you're actually not onto this.
I'm sorry. You know, I got off track. Discuss moratorium of campers on Lake. I thought
Our ordinance on section 14.15 allows for 2 RVs or boats at a time for 90 days with a permit. At the planning commission meeting last Monday, we had several people voicing complaints about trailers being on vacant land and parcels all year. One of them says that it's been there as long as 4 years. They have brought that complaint into the office, but it never got passed along to proper channels, so it never got followed up on until this last request about lady wanted to leave her boat there. So a few months ago, this board had placed a moratorium on enforcement when that lady came in until we changed our ordinance. Well, we've been busy with other things. It's not going to get changed right away. So the planning commission asked me to bring a request to have the moratorium rescinded so that the planning commission and the zoning administrator can move forward with the complaints that are out there now, with the ordinances that we have now. The changes to the ordinances take quite a long time. The planning commission felt they wanted to get more public input from, especially from the lake residential people, before considering changes, and we're even considering holding a workshop and inviting the public to come in and tell us to find out, do we even need to make a change, or if there's some middle ground we can find? But that will only come from more input from the people, which takes time. So there was a request that this lady wants to leave her boat there longer than the 90 days. We discussed many different ideas, but we would need to have the moratorium lifted in order for them to act on the ordinances that we have now. So that's what the planning commission asked me last week.
so these campers, are they living in them or they're just storing them?
Well, none of it's allowed more than the 90 days. I guess
I mean,
one person
even
said
to-
there's somebody
even to store 'em?
that is hooked up to water and sewage.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a
And,
different
you know,
situation.
So our
So-
ordinance doesn't allow you to store them for more than 90 days on vacant land either. So it doesn't matter if you're living in it or not living in it, you can't have them for more than 90 days according to our ordinance currently.
No, I just asked if they're living in it.
But the complaints, but the complaint that we presently have, that was, so just to clarify,
For what started it.
they said that that complaint was received 4 years ago. I wasn't your zoning administrator 4 years ago. So who received that complaint at that time? I have no idea. When the complaint was received by me, which was much more recently, I did send the property owners a letter and they did not respond to that letter. So it would be at the next step of ordinance enforcement, but then the moratorium was placed. And so I didn't follow up on it. That particular camper has been on that property for a long time, many years. I don't know exactly how long. And that's the one that was spoke to during public comment in the terms of it hasn't been moved off the property ever. So do they live in it through the summer months? Arguably, I don't know. I can't say how long they're there, but the camper has been on the property consistently. It hasn't been removed over that course of time, if that helps answer your question.
So you have to lift the moratorium.
So that action can be taken.
That would be a double action. Number one, action would be taken against people that are currently
Just to allow her to currently
continue.
to go move forward and enforce the ordinances as they are now.
And then if we're also going to be working with
people that live in that area.
If there's enough people that want these things done, they would need to have a hearing or
We tossed around a lot of ideas, like even maybe just changing that 90 days to 120 days to allow for a longer boat season. I mean, and everything else stays the same, because you don't want a bunch of things stored all over the place and looking sloppy. So getting the input from the people would be a good first step. We're trying to learn our lessons from past mistakes of not getting enough input. So,
and I see more people here against it than I see for it. We've had one person ask for it. We've got a lot of reaction.
We have a lot of other, I mean, that's just the one complaint I have on file that I spoke to. The other complaint is out on Bush Run Road, which we've talked about consistently. That's also coming up again as my zoning administrator, but he has a camper out there. He doesn't have a permit for it. I mean, it's not just in the Lake Residential District. I guess is my point, is there's a lot of campers that are throughout our township that either don't have a permit or have been there longer than 90 days. So if it is the board's intent to enforce that ordinance, I have several complaints relative to that, but I know there's a lot of others that I haven't received complaints on, but that could potentially be complained about. So I just want to make sure that the board is aware that this is a persistent problem in terms of a violation of our ordinance.
So if they get a permit, how long can they have it on?
90 days.
The 90 days.
But is the planning commission looking to change that the way, or you just want the public's input? You're gonna send out flyers or something?
currently,
Where-
we didn't want to change it without more information. We wanted to go with what we've got. And then after we get the information and do some looking and checking, then maybe down the road make a change. But it would be a very simple change. Most of us like the ordinance the way it is, with maybe a little tweaking. So I can't give any kind of time frame for how long that might take. Depends on what kind of input we get from people.
And we're looking at the whole township, not just necessarily
Right.
Lake
It-
Residential.
Yeah, because it's the ordinance is all done.
Everybody.
I honestly think 90 days is a little, it's short. I mean, we don't have a ton of great weather, but I mean, even like 6 months, if someone's trying to build a house and they're trying to live on site, chances are the house.
That's a different, that was gonna fall under the category.
Yeah, you can get a.
But if you're storing your boat over winter,
Right.
empty lot. Winter is more than 90 days.
Oh, my car. It's still
Still,
continuing in May. I'm freezing.
Which I agree that that's something that needs, if we follow the ordinances now and then there's a need to change it, that's when we change it. You know, there's a need.
And I agree with you, Luann. I think we need the public's input on this, see what the public wants. You know, within reason.
I'm
But-
curious, that if everyone that's out there, who is here, who likes the 90 days, just, I mean, I know it's not a. I have a question. The 90 second, let me just correct you. Let me see who's here for 90 days, they like 90 days. That's the way it is. Okay, yes, I was just wondering, I wasn't sure if is there anyone here that wants it to be longer than 90 days or wants a change? Okay, well, that was, wait, was that a half of a hand that I
No.
see? Okay,
It's like, wow.
I was like, we have one. Okay, that's pretty,
That's similar to what we had at the planning commission meeting.
Okay.
Probably.
but just to be clear, that's not a public hearing. So
Right.
You haven't sent out notifications, you don't have.
It's just an
That's what
informal,
you really need.
informal observations.
Yeah.
My question was, is 90 days referring to somebody storing their camper because they own it or living?
Vacant
Yeah,
land,
it's-
it's on vacant
Oh,
land.
just vacant land.
It's on vacant land.
I was gonna say this, there's a lot of people that have campers.
No, it's for vacant land.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, anything else, Dan?
Oh, you haven't gotten to, that was just the more, that was.
That was a moratorium. What is that? Okay, is that all for moratorium campers on lake?
Yes.
So that should be all property, right?
Yes. All vacant property.
Discuss that.
It was just,
The lake problem.
that's when we originally discussed it.
But that's what Lady years that was asking the question.
Okay. Zoning administrators report.
So I will just touch base again.
on modifying the three ordinances, the building code, the blight, and the municipal civil infraction policy and procedure. So just to be clear, the building code ordinance and the blight ordinance, those two would have to go through the planning commission so that we do the proper amendment to those ordinances. Modifying the municipal civil infraction policy and procedure does not require, it's not an ordinance amendment, that doesn't go to the planning commission. So the updates to the municipal civil infraction policy and procedure is governed by this board. And then the two building code ordinance and blight ordinance would be based upon your direction to the planning commission. I just want to make sure everyone understands how those three documents would be updated.
So you want them to, the first two to be updated and match the third,
It would be nice if they could be done.
simultaneous.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Any questions about that before I move on? Over. Then I also wanted to bring to your attention the Millington Township procedure for issuing zoning permits that I presented to you, that you all have received a copy of as part of your agenda packet. Currently, we don't have a procedure for issuing zoning permits. So what I've done is as I've taken on this role, I learned that there were a lot of things that we should be doing relative to issuing zoning permits that we weren't previously doing. A lot of that has to do with coordination between departments. And so I work with like the drain commissioner, for instance. And so I work with Tuscola County Safe Bill to make sure that they know what permits we've approved so that they know then what they need to follow up on. There's a lot of steps that were being missed in previous years. And so I wanted to make sure that the work that I've done to make this run smoother and more efficient is carried forward, whether I'm sitting in this role or not. And so I drafted a procedure for the board to approve so that if someday I'm not your zoning administrator, whoever fills this role will have this as a backdrop to be able to lean on and know how to move forward. Also, because I understand that I have an option of appointing a zoning administrator assistant. And I wanted to make sure that whomever that assistant might be knows exactly what step I would want them to take in my absence if they were going to issue a zoning permit.
Yeah, deputy zoning administrator.
Thank you. I wasn't sure of the proper terminology. So I did give that to you. So you had an opportunity to review that prior to the meeting. I just wanted to see if you had any questions about that tonight.
It looks pretty thorough. I thought it was well done.
Thank you.
Is that something you would want to vote on tonight on the board, or do you want to take it home, look it over and have it on old business next meeting?
Okay, when you say.
I think I would like to move it over. Are you talking number A?
Begin.
Don't know what she was doing.
It is. In the
It
packet,
looks like that.
it starts with Millington zoning procedure. It's in her zoning report.
Yeah, it's right at the back. Of your-
It's after the zoning reports. Permits.
I think those are attachments, so maybe fax this way. Maybe you should.
It should be right after
It's here.
here.
And A was part of it. If you saw the page A.
There we go. This is where it's,
All of this.
yeah, all of that. So the documents that are labeled with the letters correspond to the steps so that you can see what forms I was referencing. I think you did a very good job on the forms, and I think that is important to have when someone else takes this. I think everyone needs to have that in their position. So thank you for doing that. Thank you. So I think you've all had an opportunity to look it over.
Yeah,
So if you don't have any questions, then I would ask that you vote on it tonight.
I looked it over thoroughly earlier today.
I didn't get a real good chance to look it over, so.
Yeah, and you said someone to take your place. When I was reading through that, I had that thought, gee, somebody could step in. I could even do this, because now I gotta a job
I
description.
tried to be as complete as possible. I also emailed you the list of building permits, or excuse me, zoning permits that have been issued thus far this year, so you had an opportunity to look at that, and I updated the complaint form and sent that to you. I did email you with regards to the sign complaints. I wanted to see if you had an opportunity to review that. I talked about the repetitive nature of these sign complaints that are being received. The fact that some of the complaints include false information. And then more specifically, what I'd like you to reply to is, one of the property owners of which has been complained about on Orchard Lane has signs on the property, but they own the property lane. It's a private drive. There's 2 residents that own that drive, and they've granted an easement to the other homeowners on that lane. So it's an ingress and egress easement, and that easement is only for 21 feet. And so that property owner has placed those signs 21 feet off of the easement. And so I feel like in our conversations, there's discrepancy between what our ordinance requires for sign locations. Because the ordinance is talking about a public road, it's not talking about a private road. And so these complaints keep coming back to me, and it's been implied that perhaps I'm not doing my job on enforcement. So I'm bringing that to the board to make sure that you all understand the dynamics that are involved in this. I brought you the pictures of a few homes around the Lake residential area. And it was the board's determination that those homes complied with the ordinance and that the placement of those signs was sufficient. We haven't yet talked about this private road issue, and so I'm bringing this to you to both make you aware as well as to ask for your direction if you would like me to act in a way in which I'm not currently acting relative to these sign complaints.
Have we updated our sign ordinance? Has the planning commission updated the sign ordinance yet?
No,
When are they looking at doing that?
it's not currently on the agenda.
Okay,
Well, didn't we vote that these would be closed?
we did.
We did, but I continually get new complaints, and
Is it the same?
it's the same set of
Complaint?
people. And it's almost like I complain about this property, and this property, you complain about that property, that property, that property. And like, it's a rotating basis that these complaints keep coming in.
Are they new complaints?
Are they for the same signs?
Are they for the, I mean, let's say I can put it out, I can abide by it this year, next year when I put them back out. It is the signs abiding by the ordinance, 10-2.
I've sent you all of the information every time I've investigated these.
Yes,
I've
you've
sent
sent
that
it
to
to
the
me.
whole board, so
Yeah, what-
everyone should already have that
When I
information.
sent the email that you sent out, ordinance number 10-2, now that also pertains to private roads, the same as,
And I sent
Public
you
roads,
the
correct?
information about that private road. That's what I was discussing.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, is shouldn't they abide by the same 66 foot as?
It's the,
Public
we
road?
don't, it's a public road. It's not, I don't understand. I guess I don't understand your
No,
question.
what I'm saying is a private road, it's one on Orchard Lane.
If the person owns the road,
Can I talk?
I'm trying to explain.
It says, he's on a private road, correct?
This particular address is a private road. Is that your question?
But what I'm saying is, he's on the Murphy Lake private roads, correct? Or is it his own road?
He owns the road is what she said.
He does own the road.
It's my understanding that it is owned, that the road is co-owned by 2 individuals that live on that road.
I'm here, you can ask me.
Oh,
okay.
I'm just trying to get clarification, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, and I own one side of Orchard Lane, Bob Paul owns the other side of Orchard Lane. The only easement is a 21-foot ingress egress easement. So the standard says that that it's 10 foot off the easement on your private or onto your property. That's what the standard says, right? No matter what kind of road you live on. And that's where my sign is.
Okay, I haven't been out there, look, I'm just asking questions.
Yeah,
So you have a
No.
sign on your property.
yes. And all the private roads on Murphy Lake are gonna fall under the same thing. And the difference is the county road has a 60-foot right of way. It's not an easement. The county owns.
So the 60 foot does not apply to your road, is what
No,
you're saying.
and actually on M15, that's a 100-foot easement, so it's 50 feet from center line. Plus another 10 feet, so that's 60 feet off, but the ordinance doesn't distinguish between any of those, it's all the same. And it says from the edge of the easement. 10 feet back on the property. So it doesn't matter if the easement that you live on is 100 feet wide, 66 feet wide, or 21 feet wide. It's 10 feet onto the property and no matter what case you're in.
So,
And that's, she has not issued you any warnings for the sign, correct?
No,
Because she has gone out there and investigated all these,
that's
found them
correct.
to be what we have discussed before,
Mhm.
and has done nothing about it.
That's correct.
So that's, I would continue doing what you're doing.
but she keeps getting complaints
And
of the
you
same
can't
thing.
stop people from complaining.
Right, what I'm saying is, she wants direction of, okay, I keep getting these complaints, do I keep after sending them?
But we already have.
So,
She's going,
Jerry, you've done a beautiful job of addressing my concern. I just wanted to make sure that that was in fact the decision of the board. Because I've been asked questions about it by our supervisor and I want to be able to say that I'm acting in the manner in which the board has told me to do so.
No, Tammy, I thought this was something new and I was trying to understand it. I
Okay.
was told these signs were new, so that's why I asked you.
But that's why I carbon copy all of you because this has been such a hot topic. I want everyone to be on the same page. I've carbon copied all of you on each one of these so that you were well aware of my actions so that I wasn't doing something in opposition to what you wanted me to do.
Yeah, but see, I didn't know it was continuing signs. I thought it was something new. That's why I asked.
Okay. Then maybe I misunderstood your,
this goes back to November though. We got a violation notice. November 18th,
that, that,
issue.
but then you should have gotten a letter since then.
Correct, but I'm
Okay.
saying, I just wanted to clarify for you
Yeah,
that there have been letters gone out on this.
Yes,
But we have recently tried to correct it.
yes,
right.
we did,
yes.
I just didn't understand you that it sounded like you said
It was.
he had never gotten a letter or anything. Well,
No, on the most recent complaint, I did not send out additional letters based on the new.
yeah, so she keeps getting complaints every month from the same people about the same sign, of the issue that's been closed.
Tell me where we have.
we understand.
So when they come into the office and submit the complaint, is the office telling them that it's been handled?
I'll have to ask Jackie because I didn't.
No, Jackie can't give that answer.
I think we just continue, let's
Okay,
just continue to pass it along and then she just takes
I
care
got
of it.
nothing to do with it.
okay.
She's already, she's
Wouldn't it
taking
be
care of it,
handy?
so.
In here,
Okay.
if you talked to them and said it's closed and we're not gonna open it. Maybe coming from the supervisor, they'd be,
Well, I probably could, but I understood it was a new violation.
Okay.
Just like I said,
guess you need to read the complaint carefully.
Maybe you should draft a letter from the board, and Jackie could move it out once we comes in, or we could just make one, and because, you know, when.
Well, I don't think Tammy has to keep sending them the same thing when the community is closed.
we have.
That's not what I'm saying, I'm saying, we draft a letter to, like, we have a generic letter for the complainant saying, okay, we've already addressed this before, I'm sorry that you're coming in late, but here's a letter. You know, we're-
I'm fine addressing it. I just wanted confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation that I was acting in the capacity that the board wanted me to do. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
If it's an
clarification.
old complaint, we've already handled
That's wonderful.
it. You mean?
I only have one more thing and, Robert, this is specific to you. I had sent you an email asking about the new variants, the LaFoy variants,
The what?
the LaFoy variance request.
Now, what request was that, Tammy?
I sent you an email on May 7th.
Boy, is that the one on Irish Road?
That's the one on Old Irish Road.
Okay,
And we need additional information to transmit to the zoning board of appeals.
yeah, we don't have, we looked all through our information, we have nothing on that.
Okay, so I can make a note of that in response.
Yeah, I have no information here at the office for
You just didn't tell me that. So I'll make a note now and then I can move forward with the zoning board of appeals.
I don't know if you can check with the registered deeds on when it originally happened.
I don't know how to do that. Is that something you
Carol.
could do? I've never checked with the register of deeds for anything.
Well,
that's
you just
not-
gotta ask them, you got the parcel number, right? You just gotta
Yes.
ask them when all that took place.
I can get you the phone number. That would be great. I don't know how to do that. That's not something I've done. I mean, if, I don't, oh, okay. I mean, I don't think that's funny. Like, I think that that's something that I should be shown how to do, but, okay.
Yeah, just Tuscaloosa County registered deed. Okay. Old business, board review meeting policy. I don't know if we've got it here or not. I gave it out last week. See what everybody thought of it. I know our meeting policy pertains to,
Is it this one at the back?
yeah. I know our meeting policy pertains to the township meetings and the planning commission and also board of review. Or not board, I'm sorry, zoning board of appeals. I thought this was totally different. That's why I drafted up this board of review meetings. Like I said, we had a problem there in March. And I do not care to do that again. So that's why I drew this up. I think it explains everything,
Is
but I wanted the board's input.
Is there anything that we need to list as far as an action if somebody doesn't follow this? Like, or is it, did I miss it that, would they be asked to be removed?
They would be
or-
asked to leave.
Okay, is that in here or just,
No, I did not put that in there. I didn't know if that was proper, but if something needs to be done. I would put that in there as an addition. That it would be up to the secretary, which would be me, to ask you to leave. I just wanted your input on what it looked like so
Yeah.
far.
I think it looks good. I think you have a lot of, explains things very well. I just didn't know if we should maybe put something about, that you could ask. I think that should be. Yeah, that was that line, yeah, but the rest looks very good. It's very clear, very well worded.
Well, upon disturbance, you will be asked to leave. So. Okay,
Something to that effect.
no corrected,
Upon,
corrected action will be
If these
taken.
actions are not followed,
Corrected action will be taken.
corrective action would be,
well, or you will be asked to
yeah,
leave the premises. Upon not following process, you would be asked to leave the premises. Corrective action.
Corrected action will be handled. Would that explain everything?
Corrective action will be handled. I guess you maybe clarify what you would do as a corrective action.
I think just ask to leave, that would make it clear to everybody. If these,
If not corrected, you will be asked to leave.
if you don't follow these steps, you would be asked to leave. You would be asked to leave.
If you don't follow these steps, you'll be asked to leave. But we got time because our next one's on till July, so. But I want your input.
Here's a suggestion. If an individual engages in behavior that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting, they may be asked to leave.
There we go.
I found it out. So when I need to type up.
Well, yeah, you don't follow the statute, yes.
And then it actually It's the definition of disruptive behavior. You want me to
Well,
send this to you, Laura?
At this point, I just want your input, see where we was at. I will draft it up and bring it to you next meeting. Like I say, the next meeting, not until July anyways, but wanted something in place. We have nothing in place. Okay,
Should we take a 5-minute break, please?
you want to take a break?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, that's what Tammy handed out.
What's that?
Going for appeals hearing.
No, I didn't hand that out.
Robert Menard.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert.
Kind of fun. I get up early, but I don't always get out of my Can I sit and do my pumpkin with the
Right.
Yep.
Okay. I'll be here.
tell you? It's like
What is the protocol?
Yes. Thank you.
We got much just I'm all out station structure. So I go build out it.
You only help 5 years with them.
I mean, if I just pulled. I'm perfectly capable there. I was first in out that. I just thought that there might be a more formal procedure from which we will extract that data information. It looks like. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get back on it. Second public comment. Anybody?
Okay, thank you.
I will. Steve Lake, 7600 Osborne Drive. I just want to follow up where I was with my first public comment. I got to tell you, Mr. Loomis, when you stopped me during that comment and you said that, are you going to attack someone? No, I'm just kind of letting you know what happened. I'm not attacking anybody. I would, as a superintendent of a school, I would conduct an internal investigation. I'd want to know more. I wouldn't shut down anybody that's trying to share information with you. And that's what I felt like you were doing. You didn't want to hear what I had to say as a constituent. You wanted to shut me down, thinking that, I don't know, I'm going to say something that might be a surprise. Everything is pretty much out in the open. As Lake people out there on this whole incident that we've been dealing with for almost 5 years, I mean, thousands of dollars, a lot of passion. Majority of the people that are coming in here, I mean, they've been here 60, 80 years, people. Well, most of them. And you're not hearing it. You're reacting, this board is reacting to the minority on just about every issue. On that issue, the minority is what you reacted to, not to the residents that spoke loudly. We gave you 100 and some signatures. You just reacted to the 2 outside investors at that point. When the gravel pit people came in and complained, there was a lot of them. They had concerns. And I got to tell you, I felt like, you kowtowed to the minority again and not listening to your people, to the township, to the people that are paying the taxes. That entity out at the lake, that's the richest entity in this township, the richest, and you're not listening to the majority. You're not. You're pissing on it. I don't understand it. When the mud bog people came in and the neighbors came in here, they were up in arms. And again, you were following this one request, pushing something through that the neighbors weren't ready for. They didn't want it. Totally goes against the zoning map, the master plan, and the ordinances. The township needs to rein in your planning commission members. They are doing stuff that is self-serving, and you're letting them get away with it. And people don't feel like they're being heard. And you've heard that for years. It's on video. And I just want to voice that again. And then I got to tell you another one that really kind of got me again was the other night, the planning commission member or board member asked lake people like tonight, you know, is there a place to store boats and stuff to lock them up? Well, you know, like a secure facility where you like a lockable, saleable, rentable. Yeah, that would be a commercial. There are no commercial entities out there. That's what got you into these lawsuits. And now you still have planning commission members years later asking for the same kinds of stuff. I just passionately wish you would listen to the majority. And we feel attacked. And if you don't investigate this, I feel like, you know, you don't care. I feel like you're just blowing it off because you don't believe me. I'll tell you what, I don't feel the passion for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Newton, 7770, Orchard Lane. Just real quick. We're 7770. Our neighbors are 7750. There's a vacant lot in between us. We've come in to talk about it. Nothing's been done. I met the planning commission meeting the other night, a week ago. Apparently there's got to be a written form filled out. My neighbors, wife, I've been in here and nothing's been looked into. Trailer in there way more than 90 days, never had a permit. They've had 2 boats. They've still got 2 boats on this property. Do they need permits to have a boat on vacant property also?
Recreational vehicles. Who did you talk to that didn't give you the complaint form?
Over here, this desk.
That would be Laura.
No. No.
Or
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's Carol's own position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 2 boats there. They just pulled an excavator off the property today, yesterday. That's been there all winter. So out my kitchen window, this is what I'm looking at on the lake. But it's not, the ordinance is vacant lots. It's not being addressed. But you guys say something November 18th at a meeting and she's forced to send us violation letters on signs immediately. But our complaints are ignored. So there's an issue here that, just like Steve was saying, it's not being heard. And it's about time to change. The other point, thank you for making procedures.
Welcome.
You know how I fly airliners for a living. I have 2 jobs. I fly airliners. I'm also a federal flight deck officer. I've got thousands of pages of procedures, checklists, standard operating procedures, both those jobs. You know what makes my job easy? The procedures. Tell me how you want me to fly your airplane. I'll fly it that way. I'm not looking over my shoulder because I want to cowboy on something. And I'm feeling like we're going cowboy on a lot of stuff here. If there's a procedure, there's a procedure. You just follow it. If there's an ordinance, follow it. This is a great township. Let's keep it that way. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, action item. Roadside prop frame. This is my recommendation to the board. Is let's do all 3 of these. We have a work agreement we can do without Lane Road for this year. we put that on next year, that'd be a savings of $24,850. And the simple reason for that is because we didn't budget enough money, because our budget's due March 31st. And we just now getting these estimates, so. My suggestion is to do away with Lane Road, at a savings $24,850. Add the brush spraying. And also, do the edge line work on, Sheridan, or on Barnes Road from Sheridan to Lane for $585. The total cost would be $239,706.25.
So you two think you want to do the all three at once, just omitting the Lane Road?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, right.
what was that amount, please?
$239,706.25. We budgeted $245,000 to do this road work. And we've also got $152,956.25 for the road work on Irish Road between Barnes and Bertrand. But we got a $25,000 refund for doing that road work on Irish and Barnes and Bertrand, and also $2,500 back for doing the brush spraying. So the total would be $239,706.25. That's my recommendations. I don't know what anybody else has got.
I just don't know how necessary the brush spraying is.
Well, we don't have to do it. I mean, that's, for one thing, they come in there and knock the brush out 15 foot and then they keep it sprayed for the new growth. And the reason for that is the roads stay in better shape because they get air and they also get sunlight. That's the reasoning for it.
It also keeps the ditches from growing up, filling in. Important, I think.
Well,
But that's,
with the size of the trees that are within 5 feet of the road,
yeah, this
most
is,
of our roads,
There's a lot of brush though.
there is a lot of brush. There's a lot of big trees. There's a lot of everything.
Right.
And
But if
where there
you,
are big trees, there are no ditches.
but where you, if you keep the brush back, it's not so much for the ditches as much as to keep the road dry and in better shape. So if you keep the brush back, the road's dry, and then you don't have these little seedlings going up and next to the road. That's,
I'm not a real big fan of spraying, but keeping that brush back away from the road will also help with deer strikes. If you can see the deer that much farther away. As everybody knows, it's been a rough year for deer strikes. Because we've got parts near us that Wayne will go down and mow for the neighbors. Because it's a very heavy deer area and we have to get that back or they are on the road before you know it. And I suppose the spraying would help with that too.
like I say, if you don't want spray on your property, they got a no spray policy that you can form that you can fill out on the website.
And we get, like if we have X number of gallons not used, we get that refunded. Is that what I wrote?
Well, it says the final bill will be based on the actual number of
Actual.
gallons sprayed.
So that's good.
well, maybe we should vote individually if some people have concerns of parts.
Okay, well, we can do that also. Okay, on Millman Road from Willard to Arbela, that is a 1 mile road.
I meant as far as the roadside brush. The edge marking. and the grass.
I know you want to go.
No, not individually on the roads, but as far as.
Okay, okay, the gravel board, work agreement, does everybody agree other than Lane Road, which we can do next year?
We're going to action item 3 first.
Uh,
Roadside brush spraying.
roadside brush spray.
I make a motion that we do the roadside brush spraying for the estimated cost of $15,000 from the county, Tuscola County.
Okay, I'll support that. There's been a motion to both roadside brush spraying through the Tuscola County Road Commission. For the cost of $15,000, and we'll also get $2,500 matching allowance, which would be less, but it'd be $12,500. That's been seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, we need a roll call, please.
Jarzel,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes,
Cameron. I'm undecided. What do I say that one?
abstain.
Abstain, thank you.
No.
And Holmes.
Yes. Okay, the next thing I think I need to edge, edge line. And like I say, this is on Barnes Road from Sheridan to Lane. It's 1.02 miles. We forgot to do that when it was retarded. I don't know, a couple, 3 years ago. It brought to my attention last year, but it was too late to get it done in the year. So I did look at the contract that we got. We did not pay for it. And also the road commission looked and we did not pay for it. So that cost is $585. Like I say, it's the fog lines along the edge of the road.
I move that we, go ahead and do the edge line work agreement with the county for a total of $585 on Sheridan Road to Lane. On Barnes Road, Sheridan Road to Lane.
There's been a motion to go with the edge line pavement markings for $585 from on Barnes Road between Sheridan to Lane. And it's been seconded. Or is there any discussion? Laura, we need a roll call, please.
Hyman,
Yes,
Yes.
Cameron, yes. Jarzel
Yes,
and Lewis.
Yes. Motion passed.
what would be the cost of those roads without the, you have that figure? $124,100 minus 24,850.
yeah.
That's 24,850.
We got $99,250.
Can you ask them about looking into it going all the way to M15
Yep, whether cleaning the ditches.
for the ditching?
Okay. That'll be an added cost. But
If it would, I mean, we can bring it back if we need
Yeah.
to vote on it again, just.
okay. And that was. That was on Arbela Road between Fulmer and M15. Now you want the whole ditch or just?
Just clean out the ditches that are there. I may not,
I
you
will,
may not accept it or not.
I will check that in that on that and
Thank you.
get back with you.
I make a motion to accept the gravel road estimate for $99,250 from the Tuscola County Road Commission for the roads listed on the estimate.
Support that.
Minus the lane road, yes. Sorry, minus.
And also the ditching project. Okay, there's been a motion to accept the gravel road work agreement with the Tuscola County Road Commission minus Lane Road. And also the ditching project on Arbela Road, close to Irish Road.
support.
And it's been
Oh,
been supported.
okay.
Is there any further discussion? Now, Laura, need a roll call, please.
Jarzel,
Yes,
Hyman, yes. Cameron, yes. Cook
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes. Now, don't forget, we gotta sign these tonight, so. Okay, township attorney to attend the next ZBA meeting.
I feel it's important that they would be available either via phone call, Zoom, or at the meeting, I guess. It would, might be best to ask the attorney or,
Phone call and Zoom is gonna save you a lot of money.
Yeah, I think one of the two,
$50-$100.
yeah. So I,
And it'll still do it for.
correct. I make a motion to have our township attorneys attend the next ZBA meeting via Zoom or phone.
May, out of time. They don't need to.
I mean-
For the whole meeting. You just want them to be
To
available.
be available, I'm sorry,
Right.
to be available for the next ZBA meeting via phone or Zoom.
I don't want to interrupt you, but let me ask you this, the next meeting, is that the gravel pit meeting or is there one in between?
I'm sorry, the gravel, the zoning board of appeals for the gravel.
Okay, I'm just, well, he's
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably should have.
When is it? Robert, is a public notice meeting? That probably would occur before that one, based on notice, so. Great question, so I guess for that meeting specifically,
okay, I just wanted to clarify, you said next meeting.
appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, you want me to restate it?
Yes.
I make a motion that our township attorney be available for the DBOA gravel. Aggregate,
TCA
aggregate
appeal.
appeal via phone or Zoom.
You've heard the motion, been seconded, is there any discussion? Now, since I think we've done some money, I think we need a roll call.
Hyman,
Yes.
Cameron, yes, Cook,
Yes.
Barzell,
Yes.
Loomis,
Yes. Okay, the board of review, meeting policy, I will bring that back to the next meeting with the corrections. Okay, Buckham, all attorneys for FOIAs. Okay, procedure for issuing zoning.
Tammy does have that here.
I didn't get a real good chance to look at it, but.
I make a motion that we accept the policy for issuing zoning permits presented by our zoning administrator.
Support.
There's been a motion to accept the Millington Township procedure for issuing zoning permits. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Does that include all the way up to this number F here? Is that the whole procedure?
Yes, through F. Yeah.
So you heard the motion, been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Hey,
And I'll abstain from, because I didn't get a good chance to read it. Motion passed.
who made the first motion for that?
Sharon did.
Oh, I did.
I thought you did.
Yep. I was down the line.
Okay, Buckham, Thal, and attorneys for FOIAs. So we're gonna have two different attorney firms.
we're just having them for FOIAs because they specialize in that for through MTA for Laura.
you need to make a motion to switch to these or to
We just need to
let
make
her
sure,
use these.
we need to make a motion to let her use them and to pay the bill for the last, for the one that she used.
I think it was the same price, Laura, $250.
Some things were gonna be cheaper and
Okay,
some things were going to be, they were really some place, so it wasn't.
great.
I'll make the motion that we're. Buckingham, all attorney before this.
Thank you.
And
Pay the bill.
I'll pay the bill that we already used for them.
Support.
You've heard the motion, been supported. Is there any discussion? Now, Laura, get a roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Cameron, yes, Jarzell,
Yes.
Hyman,
Yes.
Loomis,
Yes.
thank you.
Possibility of changing attorney firm. Because of the problems I've had with our present attorney firm, I want to make a motion to switch the Balkamthal attorneys for our attorney firm.
I got one question. Was that the company that put that class on?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he was at the farm,
I'll support them.
there's been a motion to change attorney firms. Well, we have presently have to Balkamthal attorneys for our attorney firm. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
I think that's a very bad idea with all the issues that we are in. And our current attorneys know, we've already spent the money for them to be knowledgeable about them. And to switch midstream would be detrimental financially. And I think it's the wrong, our attorneys are doing a good job. And if we follow the direction on who we're supposed to contact, you would get the response in the timely fashion, and no one else has had any issues. I should say, I've never had any issues. I know Luann has never had any issues. I know Tammy's had some very good issues, when she's contacted them. So
I usually get a response within.
Is there any further discussion?
we're not there. I think someone was still speaking.
I didn't know. I thought public comment was over.
No, she's a party of this, the zoning
She's
administrator.
not on board.
Then
talking
say
to the board.
I asked her, she uses.
We're on the board.
She uses the attorney.
Public
Oh,
I realized that.
okay. See how you want.
Glad you realized.
Laura, you had a question?
We do. I would like Robert to be able to use them for things, but I agree with Sharon with they're already in it with us for the long haul with the other part. And he did contact Tim when it took 4 days, according to the last thing he said. So I mean, that 4 days was a long time.
What did you actually ask him?
What was the question?
What was the question?
What was the question?
Yeah,
Which one?
the last thing that you said took 4 days. Then were you in the office? I mean, did he answer you in the when you,
Email share.
I know, I'm just asking, what were the dates?
Well, right here's the dates.
Okay.
Okay. Four days, good morning, Gordon. A resident, well, it was about the Berkeley Lake area.
If it's not something that should be shared, maybe the board could move to have Robert share with you his evidence of the need to change, and you guys can review that and then come back to it at the next meeting. Could we?
Well, I got the dates and stuff here. It was 4 days.
I'm
I'm just trying to keep you from sharing.
if you reach out to the right
Attorney-client.
person, I don't have any trouble. I'm just saying,
Sure.
I'm just telling you that, Robert.
I know.
You follow the directions and then.
Do we have? Switch?
No,
We don't.
As
We don't
far
have a
as-
contract.
Well, let
Do
me,
we have to all use the same company?
yes.
no, we've already changed that. We're not using all the same.
She asked to use them for FOIAs, but if you're asking
Isn't
them,
that township business?
Robert,
That's a specific
Robert?
one item.
if
of-
you're asking regarding a gravel pit issue to one attorney, and then I'm asking something about the gravel pit to the other attorney, you're conflicting and you're paying double. It doesn't make sense.
So that's why I want to switch.
Because the one we have isn't giving you the answers you want.
No, he hasn't given me no answer at all.
Yeah, he does.
At 10 days later. and
When you
4 days
ask the
later,
wrong person, it was 10 days. When you ask the right
he
person,
can't-
it's
he
4
can't answer me because he said discussions were
Just switch.
are here and a half.
So
Yeah.
I guess there's a,
This group that we're working with now, knows their issues, knows their long-term, and will be able to support us and guide us long-term. And it's not good to jump canoes in the middle of the stream. The one issue, because that's their main focus of theirs, that makes sense. But to totally switch from one company to the other is a bad idea. It's a waste of the taxpayer dollars, and we need to stop doing that.
That's
We
right.
need to be more cognizant and more, we can all get along, and you send an email, you don't have to like the guy on the other end. You just get his information, and then we use it here in the township to proceed with township business. Tammy has to talk to them a lot with her job. She gets along with them very well. That is a very important point of us working smoothly to get the accurate information, and she can do that for us. And so can we. I've never had trouble getting an answer. So maybe we just try one more time, be real
I'm
clear
happy
in your
to
request.
facilitate those conversations. If you need something answered and you're not
Well,
getting.
they
a
didn't answer
response.
until you got a hold of them.
Well, if you need an answer for something, maybe you could just send it
There's
to
been a
me and I
motion
would
on
get
the
that.
floor, it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Okay.
So you don't like that they answered Tammy and not you?
No, I didn't say that, Sharon. I said they did not answer me until Tammy got them. That's what I said. Apparently you wasn't listening.
Was your question clear? Did they need more
I think it
information?
was very clear, because
Was
they
it
understood it
just the
once.
one time that they didn't?
All the
respond?
comments over, Tammy.
Okay,
She's your zoning administrator.
right, I'm not part of the
Shame.
public,
Jeez.
and you allow me to speak when it serves your purpose.
Okay, there's been a motion, has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? And now, Laura, we need a roll call, please.
Did we get a second on that?
I
Yes,
second.
we did. Sorry, I missed. Okay, okay,
Yes.
Charzell,
No,
Kainet,
No,
yeah. I do feel we need to get through the issues that we're currently in. And let's give it another go with them to try to see if we can work things out. So I'm gonna go no. And Loomis,
Yes. Motion failed. Okay, changes to the blight ordinance.
that's,
That's right.
that's really not an action item. I just wanted to bring that to our attention. Oh, sorry, Tim. I was thinking it was my thing that was on there. I'm sorry, public comment.
Okay, changes to the blight ordinance.
I move that we send these changes and the change of proper wording to the planning commission to look over and be adopted so that we can come into current practice and compliance with Michigan law.
Support. Can I ask a question to the administrator?
Sure.
Okay, so these are officially they're out of compliance with state law.
The building code ordinance is the only one that is out of compliance, like completely out of compliance.
Okay.
With the blight and with the civil infraction. Keep in mind that I've been working on these for over a year and I am coordinating with the county because we have to have the sheriff's department help with our enforcement, right? As well as just roll a safe bill depending on what the topic is. And so as we've been working through these documents, we found that, oh, that should be different. Oh, this should be different. So the blight and the civil infraction policies are being updated to reflect those things that we've found in trying to enact the enforcement. The building code connects to those. And when I looked up the building code to see what we needed to change there, I found that the building code is completely outdated and actually contradicts what the law says. Does that answer your question?
It does. Is there any way to vote on the blight thing? I just think we need less of it to be all the way around. But that's completely needed. Is there any way to separate these? Because you need the building code to clearly be up. Is it?
Well, we have ordinances now that need to be enforced and I mean, whatever you decide, whatever action you decide to take to lessen our ordinances in the future. I need these changes to enforce the current ordinances as they stand right now.
they can still be changed in the future. And this is just getting them all.
So let me understand this. Does this go to the planning commission? They work on it, or is this,
They
So
could
the
work on it,
planning commission would have to follow the ordinance amendment procedure, which was drafted and approved by the board some time ago. That goes through the various steps that are required by law as well as by our ordinance document to amend an ordinance. So the two that are ordinances, the building code and the blight ordinance, would have to go to the planning commission. They'd have to hold a public meeting, like they have to follow those procedures step by step in order to comply with the law when it comes to changing it.
The other
What's the third thing?
The third one is just our civil infraction policy and procedure with this, which this board can approve now.
Cause I didn't understand the whole.
Well, I don't think,
I
but
quite understand.
honestly, Jerry, I don't think you would if you're not utilizing it. And the only reason I understand it is because I've been working with it over the last year. And I've been working with other individuals that understand it better than I do, and they've been telling me what modifications we need to make.
So if we did just the two, send it to the planning commission to be amended.
The building code ordinance and the
And the
blight
blight.
ordinance need to be sent to the planning commission to,
And then other.
and then the other one would be for you guys.
You need to amend your-
So I will amend my motion to send the blight ordinance and building code ordinance to the planning commission for review and approval or amendments to following the proper ordinance amendment procedures.
Say that again, William.
The blight and the building code will go to the planning commission for them to make them more usable, and we're putting into our ordinance following the proper amendment procedures.
Support.
You've heard the motion, been supported. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant to send new things to them until they've got everything.
Or is it amendments?
Well, they should have these procedures in place.
And what we've got here is pretty good wording. It's gonna be easy for us to work with them.
Yeah, they could amend it as presented, if they chose to.
Okay. Um,
Yes.
Cameron, yes. Kynan,
Yes.
Jarzel,
Yes,
Lewis.
Yes. Motion passed.
Okay, so. I don't understand what you want done with the civil infraction thing. What changed and what are we at for?
So if you look at the summary sheet, there's very little about the civil infraction policy that's changing, and I can go through those, the bullet points at the bottom of the recommendations. So we changed to align the corrective timelines with the blight and building ordinance so that they would all match at 15 days. It would include explicit references to mention by name the blight ordinance and the building code ordinance. I'm told that the magistrate needs that for enforcement. So our civil infraction policy has to identify by name the blight ordinance and the building code ordinance.
So
There's.
you're
sorry.
referring to these highlighted areas.
So
Is
the
that what-
things that are in bold would be the things that we are adding. And any strikeouts would be deletions from that document.
And this is just policy that we can approve.
That is
yeah,
correct.
that's just the policy.
Yes. You want me, there's 4 more bullets. You want me to explain or to identify them, or did I answer your question?
You've answered my question.
Okay.
I got it now.
Okay, number 10 on the action items, moratorium.
Wait,
Didn't,
Okay.
We need to vote on that.
when we vote on.
Oh, I thought we had.
There was a third item.
Oh, okay.
I am not gonna say the word channels for us.
So I move that we approve the civil infraction or document as presented by Tammy so that she can get started using it.
second.
You've heard the motion, been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Okay, I think we're at number 10, moratorium of campers on all vacant property. Am I correct on that?
Yes, all vacant property.
Okay. And this is to end the moratorium, right?
Yes, to
And
lift
start
the
enforcement.
moratorium so we can start
Start
enforcing. Yes.
I'll make a motion, we lift the moratorium of campers on all vacant property and start the procedure.
Or
It's been a motion, it's been supported, is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye,
I,
those opposed? Motion passed. Okay. Supervisory report. And of course, I've been doing a lot of land divisions and combinations, working a lot on the road work. Putting that together. Had a planning, meeting in Frankenmuth. Working with Heidi Hudson on different issues. I don't know if everybody got, and I'm sure the planning commission did, the 5-year review requirement for our master plan. Okay. We need to work on that. Let me see.
Robert?
Yes.
That was just a review.
Right.
Year. That wasn't a full blown.
Right, that's correct. That was just a review. If you wanted to make any changes or you didn't have to changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got hold of Adam Young on that and he clarified that. I don't know if you got the email.
I did. That was, yes, okay.
Okay.
It's the updated, okay.
Yep.
Because I thought 5 years was way too soon to try to,
No, that was just a review.
a 1 year
And I'm
master
thinking
plan review.
I thought we were required 10 years to do it. I think it's 10 years. but
10-year
5
plan.
year,
Yeah,
yeah,
5 years of review.
and
Okay.
we're a little bit past the 10 years, so we need to look at.
Who does that?
I understand they've been working on Irish Road between Barnes and Birch Run. Millington Road's pretty much done. They've done their approaches. The road fishers still gotta come out, put gravel along the shoulders. Barnes Road, the bridge is finally open. But the sad part of it is, I think it's the end of June, 1st of July, they're gonna start the other 2 bridges. But they're gonna be box culverts, so they shouldn't take long to put in, I understand. Hopefully not as long as the other one.
Are they gonna work on both those at the same time?
No. Because there's a house in between. That White House. Just below the hill. There's a bridge on each side, I think I replied, on the south side of the road.
Yep. All right.
So, I guess as far as the park, we just installed a new alarm and camera system. And we got a, function. We got a band coming out, I think 4th, I don't know if everybody got the. Well, I guess it's right behind your there. That's Arthur Lathan Park. We got a disc golf tournament going on the June 21st. And we got food trucks and stuff there. Basically just opening people to our park. If you're interested. The band is they're gonna play from 8 to 9:30. No, I'll take that back. Music from 4 to 8. And we're hoping to get 3 or 4 food trucks out there. This is our first time doing anything like this. And if it goes over good, we're gonna have another one August 23rd. But we wanted to say there's 18-hole disc golf tournament going on. So if you're interested, it's there. That's all I've got for supervisor's report and also Arthur Lathan Park. We are looking in Arthur Lathan Park, not so much a park, but the soccer field. We gotta put the new tile in there. We gotta wait for the soccer tournaments to be over, probably the 1st of June. So that's my spiel. I don't know anything on the fire department or the police department or
Yes.
rail trail.
The police, actually, Officer Deputy Clerk that just left, he realized they were missing a Faraday bag, a Halligan bar, and traffic cones that he wanted. We were able to get the Halligan bar and the Faraday bag. And then instead of spending money to get the traffic cones, we found out the fire department was going to be ordering new traffic cones. And he said he liked their traffic cones, he wanted me to get some of theirs, and I said, since they're getting new ones, I asked Dave, and he said you can have the whole ones. So we were able to save some money there. And also they needed tire changed on their police cruiser. And there was a confusion about whether it be patched or not. So I reached out to our insurance agent. I was told that we were originally going to have to replace all 4 tires, but I was able to look into it and clear up any miscommunications, and we were able to patch it with an approved patch. So we didn't have to buy all 4 new tires. So that saved us a good amount of money.
Some don't have a whole lot of miles on them, do they?
They can, if they make 30,000, that's because they go through and pay for it. And so they're expensive.
I know they're expensive.
So I didn't want
Special
to,
tires.
right, so anyways, we were able to save money, but sharing that, and we were able to save money in the area, and I was happy for that.
So anything else?
As far as the fire department, they're doing well. They have some new people on the force, and they're doing very well. Training, and they've been very busy. Down lines, everything. I know they were out 10-15 for what 10-12 hours for down line. And I do have another concern. I feel that we really need to, as a board, listen to our people and their concerns regarding the planning commission and decisions that are being made. Because if these people are getting heard, I mean, they can bring a formal complaint to us, and then there'll be a hearing. And if they can prove misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance, I mean, there's issues that need to be handled. And if we could ask the planning commission to follow the ordinances and follow the direction of our board and go with our liaisons and not take private conversations and agendas, I think that would be very beneficial and make more unity in our community.
I would like to make a comment on that. The planning commission needs to follow the procedures on what they have said. They need to follow procedures that are going to set for them. And like for the zoning administrator, he brings information to them. They're not required to follow that information. Should they? Probably in most cases, yes. It's not law or standard. Not standard is not the right word either.
Requirement?
Requirement that they do. That's what she's there for. She's there to provide information to them. Could we all work together? Yes. We're going to start working that way.
It's my concern that they don't even read what she presents. So
It's my concern being there too. We get this document from her, we read it. None of the other 4 take the time to read it before the meeting. It says in the handbook, you are to come to the meeting prepared. And Tammy's very good at getting it out in a timely manner. Then it makes it appear, I'm not pointing fingers, but it makes it appear that if they can delay it for a meeting, take it home and say they're going to read it, as you notice, it never gets put back on the agenda. It gets dropped through the cracks. He has had the extra training that none of us on the planning commission had. And I appreciate her expertise and her knowledge and the fact that she can prove she's not making it up. Here's where it comes from. But they totally stonewalled.
And I agree. That's what the zoning administrator is there for.
Yep.
It's not a requirement that
biggest
they
thing.
follow them, but should they? Yes.
Yes, they should.
So, you know, but the procedures, the actual procedures of everything, they need to start following.
right. And my concern is the zoning ordinances. They need to follow the zoning ordinances, and they say upon the discretion of the planning commission, but they're not reading the whole thing from the lawyer. The rest of it says, according to the ordinances.
And if there's a need,
And if there's a
when,
Okay.
you know, the
I-
things we've been working on currently are because the planning commission members wanted it.
So I think from now on, you start documenting what we send, what they say, what they don't do. Bring it to us. And let's start straightening things out.
Do we
We need
have-
to start following the rules.
do we have a plan of action if they don't start?
If they don't have to follow the rules, I mean, then we would have, if there's a complaint, the complaint has to go to a hearing. And then they can be removed with a complaint, with a formal complaint.
If it's proven.
Yep, if it's proven, if it's documented.
From the bike board. We're still hoping for help from the trustees from the jail, but it does not appear likely yet. And as you can suppose, there's been a lot of cleanup on the trail.
Can you stop moving paper so I can hear?
And,
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
so if anybody happens to be on the trail and you see some sticks, feel free to throw it off.
They gave a pickups.
Yeah, they've been real busy doing cleanup, but the guys do a very good job. They're very dedicated.
Anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
There's been a motion to adjourn, been supported, is there any discussion?
I do have one question, and this is going back the 10th, where the moratorium or campers on lake properties. Loomis was the first, and I heard one of you two.
Sure.
Make second.
I supported it.
You did, okay, that was, thank you, that was what I needed.
Then the motion to adjourn, been seconded, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the motion passes. Then we got our signatures every year. Just that one.
This is not a machine.
Really fun.
Say the name.
Sick. Let's see, second place. Man, you more clear.
Does it have to be black?
No,
Right, someday.
it'll be black once I copy it.
I'm really sorry to hear about it. You know, if anyone. I don't think much. Oh, it's just me.
Go away.
I think so, because you get your registration.
You bet.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Your registration, okay, refund, or you say, well, we never have. Jack, to go. Not in it.
Sign it.
One and.
Let's not try to get everything together so we're not here like that. Make it. Sure.
Well, when.
All I know. Present stuff, always. I never said. Emerson, is that the name?
Right.
Very close.
Well, so I'm still planning to go on site.
That's all I see.
It's all changed, no.
You know.
Wednesday.
See you later. Take care.
Luann,
Bye.
either of you
I bet.
planning on going to the training on Wednesday? I'm work out.
We're touring.
It's in Gaylord on Wednesday.
It's the same thing I did. Yeah.
Okay, no, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I know, sorry, Tammy. It's, honey, come on. Well, you don't have to start, look at that. Well, I am sorry that we remember that.
I mean, yeah, but not started with Mr. Meeting, no, that's totally fine.
But yeah, so
Thank
Jackie
you
was able
for
to
your
come.
comments, I appreciate it.
Jackie called.
Can you check and make sure that we're off? Were you able to? Cause it doesn't, I clicked something, but it's not the same as on here and now it's print. I don't know if we're done.
That's why I started early, because I knew it wouldn't be a while.
I just signed this one twice and we'll have 3 signatures.
Yes,
Mayor,
yes.
Bye.
Whatever happened to that question I had?
what's your last sign?
And walls.
Think we should for sure.
I guess I could sign.
You know what? My husband's out on the station.
Sounds good to me. Happy driver.
No, I can bring my sidekick along.
Yeah, Laura, I gotta check this something. You guys, I'm glad you're nice.